morning to you. Today is Thursday, right? Yeah, it's Thursday, the 26th of February 2026. And my name is Francisco Gaffney, and this is my daily streaming all about governance, risk, compliance, and advisory boards. And let me show you the model that I've been presenting the whole week, and we're going to continue to develop as the weeks evolve in the coming future. So this is the operating system of an organization. And I say an operating system because business is not linear. You don't do one thing today, one tomorrow, one next day. Everything is happening at the same time, all the time, right? So this is the whole thing that happening today all the time at the same time, and tomorrow and next week, next year, and every day of the lifespan of the business. Right. So yesterday we spoke about how your brand, your people, and partnership help you to scale your business. Right. Now, on Tuesday we spoke about how to be predictable. So, what are the partnerships that you have? What are the revenues? How you treat your pricing, and what are the assets in terms of properties, etc. And today we're going to talk about again this. And yesterday we spoke about the performances and the governance, risk, and compliance and assets again. But here's the systems that you have. Your how are the flows of things? Who is responsible for what? Which are the projects that have that owner who is responsible for that, and how they develop the business in a way that actually is not bouncing back to you. Because many times what happens is this boomerang effect. So the board or the team decide to do something, assign an owner, and then it's coming back to you and say, oh, because you do it better than anybody else, so we need to ask you a question or how to address this, etc. That's literally a boomerang effect that consumes, and these are studies done, 80% of an executive time, because the people are coming back to them asking the same question or clarifications or whatever is the case for things that already have been decided to do. And where is the value of an executive that is pretty much running 2 times, 3 times, 4 times over the same things that have been decided perhaps a year ago, right? Now, today we're going to talk about what happens in the future. And here's the things that are implied here is your performance, your strategies, and obviously your brand, because actually how you put your brand towards investors, the market, the funding when you're looking for funding, your shareholders, etc. And this applies for if you are a solo owner, you have an executive team together, you don't have a board yet, or if you have a full public listed company with a board and now the executive directors and a C-suite, etc. It's exactly the same for everybody, because the businesses are businesses. They are more complex as they grow, but actually the mechanics and the complexities of a business, because everything happens at the same time every day, is exactly the same for everybody, right? So these are the principles that makes a company be better and grow faster. And the topic today is how to handle ambiguity and uncertainty, because you see, the companies develop, they grow, they scale, and then seem that they stall in a certain brand or a certain band in the market, like a 50 employees, 200 million pounds, or 100 employees, 200 million pounds, and they don't grow from there. And by the way, I mentioned pounds, but you can put euros, dollars, whatever is the amount they put it, because it's actually the same pretty much everywhere in the world. So what's happened there? You want to innovate, you want to transform the organization, you want a reinvention, you want to tap into different market, different product, different areas, and you can't, because it seems that everything stalling here. And there are many reasons, because you see the business as a linear thing, and it's not a problem that actually you don't have the capacity or the skills. It's because you've been trapped into a linearity of things rather than to have this vision of the system as an operating system of your organization, like the model that we have here, right? So that's the introduction of today's call. I hope it makes sense. If not, just drop me a message and we can discuss that one-to-one. Now, as I mentioned, Yesterday we spoke about controls. Today we are going to bring this to how you break this glass ceiling to an edge. So you want to go to market as an innovative company, transformational company, something that actually brings that wow effect again to everybody. So from the asset lens, today is intellectual property and transformations. So as I mentioned, the model, we are in the section where we call it edge. And by the way, there are specific milestones that we prepare for each of these sections. So it's not something that you say, oh, this is a model, we'll try to figure it out. No, there's a plan, there are processes and systems that we implement with this to make sure that you get outcomes. This is not a vision board. This is a business outcome board. So every section has outcomes for your business. So it's not like, nice to see how the business operates. No. These are specific things that you have to do with your team to get results. So in terms of the IP and transformations, let's take a look at three problems. But let me give you some context on this problem. When the companies want to innovate, want to transform, and to go into the market with something fresher and newer and more dynamic and more adapted to the current times, many times they miss three things. One is the technology that is changing. Second is the socials that are changing. And the third are the economics that are changing. So I'm going to mention economics, for example. Last year in UK, the ICP was 3%, and the interest rate, I think at January this year, was 3.75% according to the Bank of England. Now, you will say, well, that was 3%, we can handle that. You are dragging that 3% towards everything that you do. It's not actually, that was last year. You're still dragging that today. So you have to take that in consideration. In terms of social, I'm going to mention one only. Today, when you're hiring people, I don't know if you notice, unless you have a very, very hardcore machine shop or business that people have to be in on the plant or the warehouse or in the truck distributing, etc. Many of the office works and many other admin works are asking one question many times. If there's no disclosed already in the job recruitment notice, is this a flexi work? Is this a office work, or this is a full remote work? And I tell you, this is a highly disruptive thing to handle, because you have people in years that have been in the office, and now they say, you're hiring people that is flexi or they are remote. Why I can't? And I say, oh, because your contract is already set. And it's a lot of problem. It's a waste of time. It's not a waste of time. It's a lot of time invested into defend the position that perhaps you should be more flexible and say, it doesn't make a difference to fight or invest all this time for this, or we can do a little poll and find which is a regulation here and understand if we can give these facilities to people. And it's all about the culture and how the people work. And tell you another big disruption, the nomad visas. Countries are literally advertising about this. I don't know if you're aware of that. So more people are traveling to other locations around the world to do the same job that pre-pandemic were doing in an office in central London. So there you are. So these are social disruptions today, and this is just for in the work environment. There are others that actually influence these too. And in terms of technology, I don't want to go deep into AI. Is one of the big things. And let's jump into AI now that we are in this, because here's the three problems I found today with this, finding an edge for your company. And this is three, but actually there are many others, but actually I want to mention three in honor the time. Let's take a look at this. Boston Consulting Group found that most transformation programs do not achieve what they promised, right? Only about 25% lead to real benefits that last. So like sustained performance, improvements, better margins, or a stronger operation model. So the other 75% either fall short, fade out after lunch. So actually we have very enthusiastic meetings, put everything together, and then it dilutes with the every single day firefighting. So it doesn't have any opportunity to develop, or literally create short-term activity without lasting results. So more initiative is not ambition. Really, is an unmanaged risk, because you are doubling efforts or triplicating efforts of people, teams, and capital to get something that actually is a good wish at the end. Now, problem number two is we mentioned AI, and the UK government's AI Opportunities Action Plan is a roadmap to capture AI for growth and productivity. If boards treat AI as a side project, they lose the productivity prize and they still carry the delivery risk, right? So you have delivery risk. I mean, the people involvement, capital, disruption, etc., etc. But when you see the productivity results of that, I say, what is the returns of this investment? They are very poor, because here's something I'm going to mention now. So UK businesses performed, this is not problem number three, they performed 65 billion on research and development in 2024. But there was a marginal increase from 2023 of 4.5%, but that's not the point. So the point is that investment is happening, and why this is a problem, because the board's question is whether your operating system can turn it into outcomes or not. And I give you a very clear example that I mentioned yesterday. We were working with a machine shop, and we found a room that they had a machine there that pretty much seems to be a dusty thing, a little small lab that nobody understand what was that compared to what they were doing. So when we ask about this machine shop, they say, oh, that's our test bench. And the test bench is where they tested materials, material memory, and material resistance, right? Now, you say, well, that's fine. So you develop something, they put capital, thinking, software, hardware for something to test the quality of their company products. Absolutely fantastic. But they were too busy on the day-to-day running the business that they had a mind goal sitting there without knowing. And the mind goal was the intellectual property that they had there. They did the research and development, they tested, they refined it throughout the years, and they had a very good quality products, but they never advertised how the processes were doing to get these quality products. So then the premium price they could be charging was missed. The other opportunity to say, no. It's not that we bring raw metal sheets and we produce these amazing products. It's actually, we test them thoroughly with 15 years of research and development through our patent, was not patent, but anyway, you get the drift. We have a bench test for these products to ensure that what you're buying is going to sustain the test of time for many, many, many years, compared to other shops that probably they have material fails they don't even aware of it. But they produce a good product, but actually the material fail could be one of the factors of risk in your organization. What they've done, they trademark the process, they started to rent the room for other companies to test the materials too, they license the products, and they produce a second revenue stream that was very profitable, because actually they did already the research and development, was already done, was already sitting there. They pretty much start to license it and bring extra business, renting the room for hours for other companies to test the materials. So here's are the problems, here are the solutions. So if you are too busy just working on the day-to-day things, even if you have very good intents, you need somebody that comes and say, this is your organization as a whole and is working at the same time, everything. In other words, imagine that transformations without a pipeline is like renovating a house room by room with no plan. So you pay twice and still live in a constant disruption, like but you paint rooms before, so if you're aware of that, if you're living in the same house where the refurbishments are done, it's so disruptive, it's so frustrating, and it seems that every time the company runs their business is exactly like that. It's a daily disruption and very, very discomfortable situation. So Here's a principle I use with boards. And I mean boards, you could be you and your organization as a solopreneur, it could be your company with your executive team with no advisory board and no non-executive boards, or could be a large PLC with your fully structured C-suite, non-executive boards, advisors, and committees. Transformation is an asset. It needs governance, a portfolio view, and evidence rhythm. And here's the key: evidence rhythm. Now, so as an advisor, what I will propose to consider is the following. Number one, build a transformation pipeline with an explicit invest or kill gate. What I mean is actually go, no go. In the model that we have, the rules is to allocate 10 to 20% of capital to a sandbox for unproven work, provide there are clear decision gates and owners, right? So you don't want to allocate capital to something actually, yeah, we're going to do a kitty there to get a next project running, and there is no purpose for that. Back to the machine shop test bench, we had a very clear plan who is going to own that project, how to packetize that, productize this product, how to do the licensing. We bring experts to do the right thing, the right place. So actually it could be a very profitable new revenue streams for that machine shop. Number two is tie each initiative to a value driver the board already understands, right? So which is a revenue, which is a margin, what are the risk reduction, our valuation narrative. So how we value more our business doing this initiative. If there's no an extra boost in the valuation of the business, probably is you have to consider that, because actually at the end, when you have a better valued business, then you can access to a better rate in terms of loans or better investors, because they understand what you do, how you do it, and they want to get involved in the long term with you. So the friction of finding investors all the time is reduced. Anyway, so there's a lot of benefits around this. And then obviously set a timeline, 90 days proof milestone before scale funding, right? So you don't want to bring more capital to something that you don't have evidence that is going to work. And number three, back to AI. Put AI into the operating model, not in the innovation theater, right? So you go everywhere now today, I'm sorry for this, but actually you see or you hear or you read about, oh, this is AI, this, AI, the other. But when you start to dig into what AI does for this organization, they are not embedded, baked in the operating model. And that's the key, because the operation is what you have the learnings, the skills, you recover what is in people's mind, you can make it better, and then you can improve things or create new revenue streams. So you have a guideline there. Use the UK plan as a forcing function. So the skills, adoptions, and practical use cases that change how work gets done. So, by the way, the UK plan for AI is one, but every country has some kind of plan, national plan in terms of how to apply AI for more efficient and developing things. So if you do this well, you also reduce fatigue, because actually you have a full plan, and in the business, in the overall operating system of the business, this is a function that you can manage now, because you have visibility how is going to be the impact on all the rest, right? So it's not something that is static as an isolated thing that you have to come back to. This is part of the operating system that grows your revenues, increase your people capacities, and to bring value instead of spinning their wheels, etc., etc. So in these cases, with this full operating system, you stop living in a permanent project chaos. The organization starts to feel like it has a direction. There's no noise anymore. It's like, well, we're going that way. And actually, we have a full picture of what we're doing. So what do you gain working with me? So three things: outcomes, differentiators, and risk reduction. In terms of outcomes, a governed transformation portfolio, so 3 priority bets, a 90-day proof rhythm, and a board dashboard that shows the spend, the learning, and the value. So innovation stop being a leap fade, an uncertainty, something scary. Start to be something that is very pragmatic, is programmed, and they have a short run to go, no go. So you don't have to invest time in something that is not going to produce business outcomes and valuations increases for your organization. It's something that actually is not a nice to have anymore. It's something actually this is a good thing to do or not. In terms of differentiator, I built an international advisory board around the transformations constraints. So it could be AI delivery, program governance, sector operation expertise, whatever it is the case. And we rotate members every 6 months as the portfolio shifts. Remember, this is an operating system. And I think that yesterday or the day before I mentioned a CFO that was hired because of his, forensic accounting expertise to address one area of the business. 6 months later, the job was done, but this person was hired and was shuffling papers at his desk, doing pretty much bookkeeping and accounting, and the rest of the admin team was saying, why this person is paid 3-4 times more than us for doing less work than we do? Because then you get stuck with people when you cannot shift the expertise as you need them as the things evolve. That's our capacity. So we can shift members or rotate members as the evolution goes through their paths of evolution, changes, et cetera, et cetera. And how I reduce your risk, I start with the reality that most transformations fail. Then I design the governance and proof guidance to beat those odds. So using the UK policy, for example, the direction on AI and UK data on innovation investments as a context, you can start to develop things with a real trackable framework. And from there, you can say, I like what we're doing, or we say, this is too complicated, we don't need to do it. But at least you have a guidelines, you have a guardrails, you have something actually you can repeat again. And this is other thing that we do a lot of things, a lot around it, is repeatability of the business that actually start to run on autopilot. It's ideal, it's not perfect, but many of the things start to run in autopilot. So, but you have all the control checks and the evidences and the data where you can sustain that model as long as you can. So one action you can take today, and it's doable in 30 minutes or less. Take your top 5 initiatives and label each as investment, go, no go, prove, and a timeline, 90 days. So if you can do this for your next 5 or your current 5 initiatives, and if you don't have it, then probably you have a very good rate of what is the projects or programs that you should continue or the ones that you shouldn't. So let's pause it here for today and reconvene tomorrow, because if you remember, yesterday I mentioned control view, today I mentioned innovation, and tomorrow I will show you how boards or executive teams or yourself as an owner can use succession planning and rotating advisory benches, so keep this whole system executing perfectly fine. Right. So if you're a board member or a leader and you want a B team looking at the edge that can produce your company to dominate your market, set up a 30-minute call so I can understand your position and how an independent international advisory board looking from the outside in your company can help you and your team without stepping in your toes, without the traditional consulting overheads, and without the public theater. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye.